Welcome to Weaponized News with your hosts, Stuart Webb and Sam Cheney, fighting the international bankers' one world government scientific dictatorship. Break the mind control. Be the change you want to see in the world. And now, here's your hosts, Stuart and Sam.
Welcome to Weaponized News. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Cheney, and we got our producer, Woody, in the studio.
Hey.
We're broadcasting on 1680 AM here in Fresno, California. We have a special guest on the first hour of our 2-hour broadcast. His name is Joe Biggs. If you haven't heard from him, now you've heard from him, because we're gonna bring you what he's done.
Learn about it.
Learn about him. We're huge supporters of what he's doing, which is a lot of alternative citizen journalism and guerrilla journalism, and he's really bringing us the news, the real news, what's really going on. He works for Infowars.com. Go visit the website. Joe, how's it going today?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's no problem. Well, let's get straight into it. Could you explain to our audience kind of a little bit about your military background and the experience that you've had trying to get treatment at the VA?
Yeah, I spent about 10 years in the Army. I was injured, medically retired, and I've been out for about a year and a half, 2 years now. And, a lot of people were telling me, like, man, you think trying to get, taken care of while you're in is hell. They're like, man, you're just going to hate life when you get out. And I was like, I can't be too bad, and
yeah,
sure enough, I get to the VA system. It's hell to get the paperwork done. To get transferred over into it, you've got to wait about 8 months before you finally get an initial appointment. And then by the time you go through an initial appointment, you get so lost in the paperwork that you have to go see another doctor, which is like another initial appointment because this doctor's never seen you before. I've had upwards of 10 to 15 initial appointments because they keep sending me to different doctors, and then I have to go through another evaluation by that doctor. I went in, for example, a couple months ago because my right foot was injured in combat, and I needed to have it re-looked at because I had some surgery a while back, and it feels like the pins are starting to come out because I can feel my bones cracking around and my foot starts to swell up. So I go in, and the doctor goes, all right, sir, let me go ahead. We're going to get you some x-rays for your ankle. And I said, wait, what do I need x-rays for my ankle for? I said, I'm here for my foot. Oh, no, the paperwork here, sir, says that you have a broken ankle. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I know my own body, man, and there's nothing wrong with my ankle. Oh, yeah, your ankle's broken. I'm like, well, so I had to literally look at this guy, this x-ray tech, in the eye, and I'm jumping up and down just to prove a point. I'm like, look, my ankle's not broken. And the guy goes, man, you should stop jumping up and down. That's really going to hurt your ankle. And I'm like, oh, my God, you guys are zombies.
Wow, so this is...
I go in and get the x-rays, and like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with your ankle. Obviously, your foot's broken.
Oh, wow, so you already told him what you knew, but he just made you feel stupid, and then he just unbelievable. I mean, this is the bureaucracy we're dealing with. I mean, you've served our country. We're supposed to take care of you when you come home, and this is what you get. They come and give you the runaround just to get your foot looked at, and you know exactly what's wrong, and they tell you otherwise because of paperwork?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Now, so you served in Iraq, correct?
Iraq and Afghanistan, yes.
Both?
Yeah.
Now, with this, there's been a lot of, talk about this new movie, American Sniper. And now in the last couple years, there's been the Zero Dark 30 movie about the Osama bin Laden raid, which we all know is just a bunch of propaganda. And then we also saw The Lone Survivor, which I thought was a great movie. But really, we're seeing this pro-American, pro-war on terror, all these films coming out. You think this is where we're headed? Are they trying to get us ready for the next war?
Well, what they're trying to do is take away the guilt, I think you should say. I think a lot of people over the past decade, after all these endless wars, people are starting to realize and wake up to the fact that a lot of this is BS. The reason we went to Iraq was not because of weapons of mass destruction, it was because Saddam Hussein refused to use the American dollar as a petrodollar, and then, Bush got mad about that and wanted to go in. I think a lot of people woke up to the fact of what's going on, why we're in these wars. We shouldn't be there. And what Hollywood did to help out the government was to glorify this stuff and find heroes and make heroes in these films so people can, in their hearts and minds, I guess, justify these meaningless wars that we're in right now and that we're going to continue to stay in, even though the president, when he ran for office initially, said that he was going to pull us out of these wars. So I think it's all a huge push to get people back into the fight, so to say, to have their hearts back into it. And they see these movies and they're like, oh my God, this is so inspirational, and people are crying and they're coming out and they're all emotional and they're back in the fight again, and it's almost like they can raise that banner, mission accomplished, all over again.
Hey, Joe, this is Sam Chaney. I appreciate your work on InfoWars. I love your reports. My dad's a 100% disabled veteran from the Vietnam era, and so I was just wondering about how the morale was when you were over there serving with the troops in your unit.
Well, the first time when I was in Iraq, it was pretty much, bam, shell shock, dude. The way we saw it was we were just attacked by Osama bin Laden. Afghanistan was coming after us. And next thing you know, we're like, all right, why are we in Iraq? And then we're thrown into this whole scenario where we're like, all right, well, everything around us is blowing up. People are attacking us every day. We just got to do whatever we can to survive.
Yeah.
The second time, though, when I went to Afghanistan the next time, about 6 months after I got back from Iraq, it was more of like, all right, this is BS. A lot of people have seen different films like Loose Change and all this crap, and people were more aware of what was going on, and a lot more people were pissed off at the fact that they were there for no reason. And I saw many soldiers in many units wearing their flags on their right shoulders upside down, to symbolize the fact that what we're doing is complete and total BS, and it's all for these political reasons.
Yeah, it's for the global elite, really. And the thing is, what I try to explain to people is that these wars, there's no clear enemy, no clear goal. We haven't been attacked, and there's no clear exit. So really, we could go on. We could be in Iraq as long as our country is still functioning and we have a military. We're going to be there. We're going to be in the Middle East. And with these movies, and you're right. It's basically feel-good movies about just being American. When my buddies say, well, these guys, look at what they do. Look at their barbarians. Well, if we got invaded by the Chinese, we would probably act very similar to what the people of Iraq and the people of the Middle East are doing over there. I mean, if someone invades your country, you're going to defend yourselves.
Well, and that's what I always told people. I was like, imagine this. Well, a lot of people, this is one of the things. I dated an Arabic girl, and a lot of people will go, well, that's just crazy. You don't have flashbacks? You don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and you try to choke her? I mean, you had to fight those monsters over there. Those people are evil. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm like, imagine, and it's just like the Red Dawn movie. Imagine you're in Afghanistan, you're hanging, all of a sudden, planes start flying overhead, people start bombing you, and you're just a kid. You don't know what the hell's going on. We've created a lot of the terrorism based off stupid, mindless acts that our government has carried out. We've created a lot of people over there who hate us because we bombed them for no freaking reason.
Yeah, our military, our policy just doesn't make any sense at all. We invaded Iraq; they didn't even attack us. Nothing.
And that's what it means when people say, "Do you support our troops?" When someone says, "Do you support our troops?" You know what that means? What that means is politically, do you support our policies?
Yeah.
That's what they use. It's a catchy slogan that doesn't mean anything, but it covers up the real, actual issue, which is, do you support our policies? And what our policies are going over and bombing these people to hell to get their oil and make tons and tons of money. And it doesn't matter who dies. So what they do is they stamp this, do you support our troops over it? So when they talk about it on TV, when NBC, Fox News, CNN talks about, oh, you don't support the war in Iraq, you don't support this, so you don't support our troops? And they throw that in there, and then you're like, well, of course I support our troops, but I don't support why we're over there. Well, then you can't support our troops if you don't support the war. And then it makes the American public and masses go, well, I guess I do support what's going on. It's a clever marketing tool to make you feel guilty into supporting the government's crappy policies.
So, Joe, how do we separate actually supporting the troops from support for the war?
Well, what you have to do is you have to understand a lot about media control and propaganda and how that's ran. You need to read up on Edward Bernays and Noam Chomsky and people like that who really understand how the media and the government work together to manipulate the populace's decision and how they overcome things, how they decide about what it is they want to do. You know, America is one of the top countries. We just consume. Why do we consume so much? To take our mind off of what's really going on. If the masses actually knew about what was going on, there would be just riots all the time. People would go crazy, but no one's going to ever do that because they got their MTV, they've got their brand new Jordans coming out, they've got concerts to go to, they got football to watch, they've got all this stuff to take their mind off what's really going on.
Deflategate.
Do what now?
Deflategate.
I mean, that is
Malghazi.
just out of my mind. I'm actually working on a video about that.
I saw that post. Yeah, I can't wait to see that one.
Well, we saw the left come out strong and anti-war protesters when Bush was in office, but now ever since Obama's been in, there's been no anti-war protests hardly. I mean,
exactly, because then you're racist if you talk about Obama in a bad way. Come on.
Wow, it's
that's the new thing. Now the new thing is racism.
Yeah, just pull
They
the race
push
card.
the race card on everything. You know, you can't even say that you like fried chicken in public because someone might go over and go, "Oh, you can't say that loud, man. That's racist." I mean, what's racist about eating fried chicken? It's freaking delicious.
You know, it's true.
Yeah,
you know,
way
it's
to go.
true. At a job I used to work at, I explained to a woman that in the 5th grade I was at a school and I was the only white kid there, and the rest of the kids were Mexican, and they called me gringo, and I didn't like it. But then she turned around and said I was a racist when I didn't say anything about I didn't even, you know what I mean? I didn't say anything except for I explained the situation, and that was the truth. But that made me racist somehow in her eyes. It was very bizarre to me.
Well, a lot of the actors and people in Hollywood are saying, "Well, you know, there's no black people who are being nominated this year for any movie awards." Well, you know what? Guess what? I nominate President Obama as the leading actor of 2014 for being able to openly lie in the public space without even making or losing that face. I mean, this guy is the greatest actor of all time. That he can sit here and promise people one after another and never, ever smirk and keep a straight face. This guy deserves an Oscar, an Academy Award, Golden Globe, whatever, in every category. I mean, this is just out of control.
Yeah, and you know what? It'd be like saying, you know, let's put more white people. Let's have the government force NBA teams to have more white people on the teams, on the basketball teams, because there's too many black people. I mean, what would they say to that? It would be absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah, people would flip out. People wouldn't even care about the fact that the State of the Union was last night, and yet again our president's in front of millions of Americans lying his ass off. No one would even care about that. It would be all about that.
Yeah.
Why did they say that? You know, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, back to the whole war issue. I mean, just for expressing that I'm against the war, I'm somehow in the same category as Michael Moore. Like, there's no stuff. It's like, oh, you're like Michael Moore, and we don't like him. It's like, it's that simple to people when really, you know, they have no idea the left-right paradigm that they're in, and they can't. They have to either be for the war or against, and that's it. There's nothing in between. You can't be against all of it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you have to pick a party, I mean, even though we have two options. So trying to discuss that with an average person, I've found, even if they're smart, it's very tough to actually. It's like you got to take 8 hours, like a full day, and explain to them the entire system. And I think a lot of it is just the process of waking up. Most people are just. It takes years. It took me years to wake up, but
Well, I mean, you got to think since you were born, you've already been thrown into this matrix, so to say. I mean, you've already been thrown into the propaganda that your parents are already believing in, and that you've grown up around every day. Every time you turn on the TV, the stuff's embedded in your head nonstop. The music you listen to,
Public education.
Yeah, we're completely indoctrinated. So, Joe, let's get into your reporting. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience visiting the military's fake American city?
Oh, yeah. Fort AP Hill in
There you
Virginia.
go. Yeah. That was very interesting. Tell us your thoughts about that one.
Well, you know, we got some intel about the fact that there was this, you know, fake city that was being built, and being in the military myself, there's a saying that we have, train how you fight.
Yeah.
And if you train to fight in the desert, and that's your theater of operation, then you will train in a place like California, out in the desert. You're going to go train in El Paso, Texas. It looks like Afghanistan. You're going to go train in those places where it's going to be similar to where you're going. Now, Fort A.P. Hill doesn't look like Iraq or Afghanistan. It doesn't look like anything like that. It doesn't look like any place that we're in combat other than it looks like small-town America. There's a church. There's a soccer field. There's a police station, a fire station. There's a work building. Why do soldiers need to train in facilities that look just like home?
Yeah, and their excuse was, oh, well, there's a mosque there, so that means it's in Afghanistan or something similar to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so far out there. And
Yeah.
people that saw this were like, well, I mean, they say it's for good reason. I'm like, no, it's not, man.
Yeah, it's so interesting how, people can't. I mean, we already know returning veterans are the government's biggest enemy, and now Obama's saying, well, we need to fight extremism. That could mean anything. I mean, you could be extremely pro. I'm an extremist for, Snickers bars.
Christian identity.
Yeah, I mean, anything. And you could be labeled as an enemy to the government. It's unbelievable. And so I don't see how people can't see this, but you're exposing it. You guys are going out there and actually showing people what is happening. And that brings me to my next question. So how was your experience in Ferguson, Missouri during the riots? Did you feel that the people there, did they kind of get what was going on as far as the country goes, as far as the way we're being manipulated? Did you hear a lot of positive feedback as far as the work you've been doing? Or was it just people that were mindlessly rioting and just thought that the police were the enemy and rich people are bad?
The first time it was a more awake crowd, and you had more locals who were actually from Ferguson and in 5 to 10 miles out surrounding areas of the St. Louis area. We went out and talked to people. And I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people lined up on both sides of the street protesting back in August. I mean, it was mind-blowing. And when we actually went and talked to people were talking about the New World Order, that this is all BS, that the government's trying to start this whole racist war to turn whites against blacks and vice versa. The second time, not so much. The second time, back in November, you had some of the locals that by this time, most of them have already kind of been burned out of the protesting. They were just kind of sick and tired, and they knew that at the end of the day, they were just going to get screwed over. But you had a lot of people that showed up who were there to cause trouble, and those people were RevCom. RevCom is the Revolutionary Communist Party. They were behind a lot of the initial rioting that happened back in August, and they were definitely behind the big riot that happened in November when they pretty much burnt the entire Florissant Avenue down in Ferguson, where just I saw so many buildings burn, cars or police squad cars getting flipped and blown up. And I mean, to see something like that in America, it's just out of this world when you've been in Iraq and Afghanistan. The second time it was like hell, because I think the people that came out there were a lot of the activists, and a lot of them just really go out looking for trouble.
It kind of felt like a made-for-TV movie. Do you think the government let it happen? Because, like, those fires...
Of course.
Yeah, right, because, those fires in those buildings, shouldn't the sprinkler system have put them out?
The thing about those buildings, and I'm still looking into, and it's going to take a while to uncover this crap. But, okay, all those buildings, days prior, I mean, I was there for 3 weeks, okay? When I first got into Ferguson, I left, like, a day, two after the big riot that happened, at the end of my time being there. And when I first got there, so that was like almost 2.5 weeks prior to the big riot, all those buildings were already boarded up. People were already closing their business down in anticipation that at any time the verdict would come out and people were going to burn this city down, because that's what everyone kept saying. So all the buildings that burnt down, their windows were boarded up, the doors were boarded up. There was no way that anybody could have... Let me see how I can put this. When I walked around the buildings as they were on fire, all the windows were boarded up, none of the plywood was ripped down, and all the doors were secured and locked. But all the fires in those buildings started in the middle of the buildings. So how does that happen? The fire department, I watched them. They had to chainsaw their way in to the doors. So no one opened up the plywood like they did back in August and threw in a Molotov to try to burn it, because the fire would have started maybe 10 feet away from the wall. All these started like 45, 50 feet into the middle of the building, away from any window. So it seems to me that maybe a lot of these people had insurance money they could claim, or a lot of the cops could have been involved, because there were reports of people seeing cops around the buildings before the fires. So there's a very suspicious activity that happened around all those fires.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is a fireman here in Kern County, and he said that the sprinkler systems would automatically go off and they would put those fires out. So he said something fishy has to be going on for those buildings to go up like that.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree, and it's something I'm trying to find out. So, it'll take time, because you got to go through people, getting a hold of the fire department. You got to get a hold of the people who own the buildings. You got to find out if there's a connection between all the people who own those buildings.
Yeah, it's just sad now that people don't realize that city is donezo. I mean, they burned down a good amount of. It's a small city. 28,000 people. And so
no one's going to want to rebuild.
Oh no! I mean, if I was a business, I would be. If I was living there, I'd want to get out. And I'm sure there's a lot of poor people living there. So I mean, they're not able to move. And so it's just and the government is totally okay with it. They're consenting. They're just allowing it to happen. And that brings me to another question. We've seen our borders just be completely. Our Border Patrol is no longer it doesn't exist anymore, or at least they don't do anything. So, what has been your experience on the border? I mean, is it completely wide open? Because we've seen the videos, we've seen you walk across the river as a Mortal Kombat guy, look like a guy from ISIS, and just show the public and the world, hey, our borders are wide open for terrorists to walk across. And I try to explain that to people. The war on terror is a fraud. They can just walk across, and people they can't get it through their heads. It's so unbelievable that we haven't. And Bush has been saying, or was saying, that when he was in office, they were going to rebuild the border. The border was going to be secure. I mean, it's been 10 years. So is it just completely free for all?
Well, I mean, they do have it up in some certain areas, like in the main parts of El Paso. Like, I went just outside of the main part of the city, right around the corner. I'm very familiar with El Paso. That's a second home for me. It was the last stint that I had in the Army, was there at Biggs Army Airfield. Funny, because my last name is Biggs. But I know El Paso very well, and right there in the main city, yeah, they have some pretty big fences up. But they are the Border Patrol are very relaxed and chillaxed in a sense, because Rob Dew and I went out on a trip. I took him down there months ago, and we saw one of the main gates open right at the city in El Paso.
Wow.
On the other side of that gate was Juarez. They just left it wide open for like 5 hours. The Border Patrol guy opened up and drove off. And then I went, 15 minutes down the road, and the fence goes, and then it stops. And there's nothing there. And everyone thinks the Rio Grande is this grand, extreme river. It's about ankle deep half the time, and in certain places it could be about waist to shoulder high in certain little areas. But it's very few far and beyond. There's nothing grand about the Rio Grande, and it's very easy to cross. You could drive over it with a truck half the time. And, yeah, I illustrated that. I was trying to be as obvious as possible, and I wanted it to be almost comical in the sense that our border is a joke, because there is no border there at all. I mean, there's no fence. There's nothing. So I went into Mexico. I put on a ISIS uniform, and then I acted like I was beheading a guy, and then I came back across with a sword and a fake head and crossed the river back into America. I was never shot at. No helicopters came. No Border Patrol approached me. No police officers, nothing. And I sat there and filmed a couple other videos that I was doing. And then I went to Arizona, and I flew over Arizona in a single-engine Cessna with a guy. And pretty much all of Arizona is wide open. I mean, we flew for 45 minutes over the border, and all you could see on the other side of the river were cartel houses. Jeez. And then back on the American side, nothing. Scary. There was no fence. And the biggest fence I saw in one area was like some wooden sticks that were crossed and had some barbed wire strung over it. And really, if you're somebody who wants to get into America, that's not that big of an obstacle to overcome if you really want to come do some harm.
Yeah, and folks that are listening, that's an Iraq war veteran crossing the border, exposing that it's completely wide open. And you should understand that the war on terror is not for your benefit. It is the benefit of the global elite. And our servicemen, the people that go and put their lives on the line, they're coming back and they're showing you guys that this is going on. So we need to stand up. We need to fight this politically and expose it and not be apathetic, not just turn on the television and bury your head in the sand. Joe, now with this murder-suicide of the Gray State filmmaker, what do you think happened there? You think that was do you think that was a murder-suicide by the filmmaker, or do you think could there be conspiracy behind that, or do you just think that's a coincidence? I just thought that was very weird.
Right now, it's one of those things that's up in the air. I'm looking into it as well, among many other things. And when something like this happens, the first thing I do is I try to look on people's Facebook pages.
Yeah.
I try to find their friends. I just try to because you obviously have to add them, but sometimes they don't have their friends. The security setting to where you can see their friends even though you're not friends with them. So I try to find the friends of the people, I add them, and then I look to see if they've been in any posts. And, when you do research like that, you'll see, over the past few days, all I've seen are people going like, oh, my God, I've known this guy forever.
Wow.
He's not someone who could have ever done this. This is mind-blowing. And then you even read the statement from the guy down the road that's in the newspaper. The guy's like, this guy was really nice. This just doesn't seem like something that would have ever happened. So you take that into consideration. Then you also think about they started this film 3 years ago. They did some kind of crowdfund thing or whatever. They raised $60,000, and ever since the trailer came out, there's been nothing done. So for 2 years, production's completely pretty much stopped from what I've heard, and there's been nothing done with it. So
yeah, since the trailer came out,
did they stop making the movie and just start living off that money that was raised?
Yeah.
And then they ran out of money and he lost his mind, or what else is there? I mean, there's so many things that could have happened, but like I said, it's so early into it.
Yeah.
There was a leak of the documentary. See, there's two parts of the movie. There's the documentary that they were going to release. It still wasn't finished. There's a rough cut that was leaked yesterday that's out, and that wasn't even finished, and that was going to be used to raise more money to finish the actual feature film in Gray State to come out. So, right now, like I said, it's so early. Who knows? Apparently, there's still a lot of ongoing investigations going on, but they said they found the people. They'd been there for weeks. I just think it's weird that for weeks you can completely let a family like that go unnoticed, especially when they're in the production of a film.
Yeah.
Or whatever they're doing. You think at some point in time that a family member would call.
Exactly. Call their cell phone and be like, why aren't they answering? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of weird things surrounding it. So I don't know at this point in time, but
that's very fishy. I just thought that was very interesting. But either way, folks, we have to get past that and fight tyranny. Period. Regardless, you need to make the decision to be all in. Regardless, I mean, what you're doing, what Sam and I are doing. I mean, this is what people need to start doing. Don't be afraid of the government. They serve you. We pay their salary. They work for us.
Well, that's the thing, though. You know how many times I've been arrested, but nothing ever happens because I know my rights. That's what people need to do. People need to understand their constitutional rights. They need to understand the Bill of Rights and what that means and what they're able to do. They're not. It starts with being pulled over and a cop saying, "Can I search your car?" And you not knowing, you go, "Yeah, that's fine. That sounds like a good idea. I don't have anything to hide." What you just did is you gave him an inch. When you give someone an inch, they take a mile. And the next thing you know, we don't have any rights. So people need to understand what they're supposed to do. It doesn't matter if you're doing anything wrong or not. I don't do anything wrong, but still, if a cop pulls me over, I'm not going to let him search my vehicle. I'm going to make sure he gets a warrant. I'm going to make him do the right thing. I'm going to hold him accountable to the law because that's what he's supposed to do to me.
Yeah, and he works for you. I mean, before you know it, they're going to give us prostate exams like we've seen on the side of the road. It's unbelievable what we'll put up with. But yeah, that's exactly right, folks. You need to know your rights. It's important. Because if you don't know them, how can you defend them?
They'll run you over.
Exactly. Just one more question, and then we'll let you go, Joe. So, what do you say for our listeners? Could you just break it down in the most simple form? How do we get past the left-right paradigm? How would you explain it to someone in layman's terms on what's going on with our society globally and just with our country?
Well, what's going on in the country as far as politics? It's like I said, it's all media control. It's all propaganda. They control you with clever ways of saying things. So you think you understand what you're doing, but really what you're doing is consenting to something completely, totally and evil. And everyone thinks, like you said earlier, there's this two-party thing. There's this Republican, Democrat. What people don't know is I've been to a lot of these political things, and I've seen a lot of these things in the background. It's like the WWE. You see the Hulk Hogan, and you see the Iron Sheik, and they're arguing on TV, and everyone's like growling, and they're so mean, and they fight each other. But then the cameras turn off, and guess what happens?
Their best
they walk
buddy.
up, they shake hands with best friends. They're going out doing lines of coke and banging hookers and doing whatever.
Yeah.
That's what politics is in America. This is a TV show.
Yeah.
When you turn on CNN and Fox News, it is a TV show.
Yeah.
And like I said, it all comes down to understanding how the government uses the media to manipulate you to think the way you do now. Once you understand propaganda and how they control the media, it will open your eyes so much. It'll be like putting on those the glasses from They Live.
Yeah.
That's what people have to understand is how to push that bad propaganda away, see past it, and know what it is they're really saying so you can spot the BS and you can call people out on it.
People can't get past the fact that they're being lied to all the time, constantly, and these politicians are doing it with a straight face, and people just can't believe it, but yet they still buy into it. They still vote the same way, and they don't try to do anything politically. They just bury their head in the sand. And so, folks...
Well, the Republicans blame the Democrats.
Of course.
And the Democrats blame the Republicans, and they love to play this game.
And guess what
insider
happens?
trade.
The same outcome happens every freaking time.
Yeah.
They all insider
It doesn't matter
trade.
who becomes president. The same thing happens. We still have the same gripes and complaints. I mean, people have to wake up and go, you know what? This is ridiculous. And people need to start looking at the actual people who are running. You'll never see Ron Paul be able to become president because he's telling the truth about stuff. He's awake to what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe, we really appreciate your work. You are outside of the box, giving us real analysis at Infowars.com, and we appreciate your work. Folks, CNN and Fox News, they're dying. They're dinosaurs. They're going to be gone in a couple years. And the alternative media on the internet and other outlets, other platforms are going to be taken over. So you need to be the change. Stop listening to Fox News. It's all propaganda, and it's not only that, it's boring and it's very simple-minded, like for children. It's built for children. So we need to get out of that box and start researching, reading, know your rights, be pro-freedom and liberty. It's the best for everyone. And so, Joe, we just appreciate you joining us on the show. And you want to give a shout out for your Twitter and all your websites and whatnot?
Yeah, Facebook is Joe Biggs, and then Twitter is at Rambo Biggs. But also I had one more thing to say, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
One thing that the government does is they try to make sure that parents, the grown-ups, stay in debt. And what that does is that makes sure that the mother, the father have to work sometimes 2 jobs. Yeah. And what that does is that takes the parents away from the children, and it leaves the children in this government education system with Common Core. That's what they want. That's like you said earlier. They expect you to be dumb. They want to give you simple-minded stuff because what they want to do is take the parents away, and they want to leave the kids in this crappy educational system so when they grow up they are simple-minded and they can't really think on their own. And the Fox News and the CNN are easy for them to understand. That's something that's really going on. That's one of the things that people have to understand as well.
It's like a football game, and it's basically thinking critically is now being outlawed, or you're alienated from society if you attempt to actually analyze things and think critically
and have an opinion.
And have an opinion that's not outside of the mainstream narrative. Yeah. Any last words, Sam?
Well, Joe, you're doing great work, and we really appreciate it here in Fresno. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, we hope to get you on again soon.
Yeah, man, no problem. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to have me on your show.
Absolutely. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Welcome back to Weaponized News with your hosts, Stuart Webb and Sam Cheney. And now, back to our show.
Welcome back, folks. You just heard Joe Biggs of Infowars.com. Go visit their website. They're constantly putting out breaking news, great analysis, and they think critically over there. And they're pro-freedom, pro-Bill of Rights, pro-Constitution, and they're not left or right. They're for freedom. Okay, and that should be most of Americans. That's what most of Americans are. Okay, we're most of us, if we're actually explained what libertarianism or
disestablishmentarianism.
That's a great word. Most people are going to agree with that. Once they realize the communist systems, the crony capitalist system which we live under, fascist systems, they all fail. They all fail because no one has choice. It's all command and control, and humans don't get to actually. Humans are meant to be free. I mean, really, they are. We are. I don't like being censored. I don't want a government agency saying what I can and can't say. I mean, right now we're on the radio. There's FCC regulations to be on the station. I can't say whatever I want. Now, I may not want to use certain words.
This is a family show.
It's a family, yeah, okay. But still, the government is telling me what I can and can't say. It's like that movie Demolition Man. You get fined if you use a cuss word. And I'm not saying that you should use cuss words, but you should be able to express yourself.
It illustrates a point.
Exactly. And you know what? People should be mad about what's going on right now. There's a lot of things going on.
But the Super Bowl's coming up.
Oh, yeah, and Deflation Gate and Benghazi Gate. I mean, really? Are we actually how about we worry about actually Benghazi? What happened there? I mean, but no, it's all just a play on words. Oh, it's a Benghazi Gate, or it's Ballgate, the Patriots, the Deflation Gate. It's unbelievable.
People are freaking out over it.
Oh, man, the Patriots. It's like, I didn't even know who was in the playoffs. I'll be honest. Someone was talking about the game. This was like last week, and they're like, I got to go see the game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, who's playing? Like, what? Who are you talking about?
Do you have money on the game? Or
No, they have nothing invested but their emotion. They have their emotion invested. And that's what's so terrible is that we put our emotion into mindless, stupid things. And I'm not saying football's bad. I think it's great for kids to grow up and play football and get exercise. But for us to literally... how many people watch the Super Bowl, Sam? Like 75 million on every... I'm sorry.
But there's grown men in this country with families that they base their life around sports, and football is a big one of them, and it needs to stop because they know all the statistics, but they don't know about how our government's operating, about our economy, about things that actually really matter in this life.
Things that men are supposed to be worrying about. And I'm sorry, I was mistaken. Last Super Bowl, or 2 Super Bowls I think I watched, 112 million, I think, were viewing at one time, which is absolutely insane. But look, men are supposed to care about political issues. They're supposed to care about how their family, what governing system their family's living under, because they're the man of the house. They're supposed to be the protectors. If you're just allowing the government to do whatever they want and then sitting and having a beer and watching the game and not caring about what's going on, you're going to be a slave, and your family's going to suffer. Your kid's going to be indoctrinated by the public education system, as we're seeing, and now people grow up and they know something's wrong, but they don't know how to think critically about it. They can't, and then they're scared because the government has basically said, hey, we live in a free country, but if you disagree with us, we're going to harass you, we're going to call you an extremist, and then we're going to say you're actually an enemy of us, which is what is happening right now, and you're not going to be free. So we need to support.
It's men's drama, is what it is.
It is. It's how they get their emotion out.
Soap opera is what it is. It's the same as if the women, when there used to be housewives, would stay at home and watch General Hospital. But this is a soap opera for men.
Absolutely. It's like, what do you like, football, right?
I love football.
Of course. It's not bad to like football, folks,
No.
but Woody knows what's going on. He actually is informed. He's not, a dumbed down child that says, go Raiders. Raiders are your team, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Go Raiders. I don't like Patriots. Go Raiders. And that's all he knows. No, he knows about a lot of stuff. And he's not simple-minded. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a big compliment coming from you.
Well, I don't think most men are simple-minded,
you're right.
but they allow themselves to be trapped into it because it is. I mean, you can watch all the
sensational.
sports shows. It's sensational. You can watch all the sports shows. ESPN's on 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
They have I don't know how many multiple sports radio channels.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable.
And so you can easily get caught up in the drama of it all, but realize at the end of the day, it's a men's soap opera.
And that's how men try to get out their emotions. I get it, but men, what you need to do, this is why you feel unfulfilled and you fill it with sports, is because you've neglected your responsibility of the family. Not all, but that's what's happening. The family is degrading because people care about just hooking up, not being a father, and caring about their team, their football team, or whatever, smoking pot, partying, the club, whatever. But all that energy that you're feeling unfulfilled by, and you fill it with sports and all those other things, needs to be fighting tyranny. See, watch all the football you want, but you need to fight tyranny first. This needs to be the priority first. Taking care of your family needs to be that priority. Being a real man is the priority first. Then you can enjoy yourself. No problem. I mean, hey, I would like to actually sit down and watch a football game, but the fact is,
if we were facing a one world government, then maybe we could live that lifestyle of luxury and relax and watch the game and be caught up in that drama. But folks, we are facing pure evil from one world government, and if we don't turn things around pretty quick, America is going to fall. We probably already can't turn it around at this point, Stuart, but it's time to wake up, get your head in the game of reality, start speaking out and taking action, taking control of your politics locally, because if you don't, these people are going to run you into the ground.
It's like our friend Josie Wales. We had her on the show a while back. She posted on Facebook, hey, just a question for everyone. What would you do if you weren't fighting tyranny all day? It's just like how Sam and I talk about this. We work all day, then have to come and fight tyranny as much as possible, posting articles, researching, reading, doing the radio show. We don't have time.
Television show.
What's up?
Television show. Programming note. We are on we're on Comcast Channel 99, Uverse Channel 93 in Fresno, California, airing from 6 to 7 p.m.
Man, we're
6
just all
days
over
a
the
week.
place, huh?
Yeah, we are all over. And you know what? That's what we got to get the word out. We got to get people thinking. We have to spend our energy fighting tyranny. I really can't relax that often. Maybe with my girlfriend occasionally, we'll watch a movie or whatever. But really, this is serious. I don't want my children growing up.
People tell me, well, you're always on, because I remember, I don't know, a couple of years back, I went to a barbecue and people were talking about football, probably, I don't know, some trivial thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, how many people that the United States killed with drones overseas illegally? And they're like, you never turn off. I'm like, this stuff is incredible. How could you not turn off?
Yeah, and sometimes I have to apologize to people that I'm around, because it's hard for me to not make almost everything political, because
Drones
it really
are
is.
killing people overseas in your name. That blood is on your hands.
We are consenting, and we're letting our government, the people we elect,
if you don't speak out against it, then you're culpable for these war crimes at this point.
And what we're trying to explain to people is that we are, even though you say, oh, well, I don't want to get involved in politics. Well, you are consenting. You're letting our government do it by not being involved, and it's going to come back to bite us. Imagine, just like we were talking to Joe earlier in his interview, could you imagine a country invading Fresno? Just, we're going to set up a base here. We're going to set up a base, a Chinese base here. And there's nothing you can do about it, because that we just are going to set up. We're invading. I'm sorry. Well, you owe us money. We're invading.
Stuart, foreign central banks have already done that.
That's true. But I think when people,
but it's
does it
soft
really? Yeah,
because
it's
they can't see, and the public's economically illiterate, so they don't understand that we are living under a tyrannical debt-based monetary system, and it's been that way since 1913. And so it's a soft tyranny that you can't really see on the surface, but you're in debt. You know that things cost more, right? Except for gasoline.
Yeah, and they don't realize that that's economic
warfare being waged against you. You should be so pissed that you should start your own show and speak out against it, but people cannot grasp the fact that you are being played like a sucker economically, for one, and that should really piss you off.
Yeah, it's just like the border. That's a soft invasion right there. I mean, people are just walking across thousands of people. It's been documented.
Engineered by our own government.
Yeah, letting it happen. And it's just, we are being attacked. And yes, we say, start your own show. We're serious. If it's not starting your own show, you need to start, I would say start with reading some literature, political books by Ron Paul, or just reading Edward Bernays'
propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, Sam's got it right here.
He lays it out. Edward Bernays lays it out in this book about how they're playing America for fools. And he wrote this book in the 1920s, okay? He tells you what the program is and laughs about it. And so I advise you read this book, Propaganda. It's all laid out right there on record. This is fact.
And don't they talk about in that book about how...
He's the godfather of public relations, which is propaganda.
Yeah. I believe he was the one, was Edward Bernays, that made, they came up with the plan to make diamonds this huge deal.
He's part of the propaganda to push that.
To say, hey, women, you need a diamond from your fiance that costs $20,000, even though
working
in
with
Africa,
central banking cartels, keeping
the supply artificially low.
De Beers diamond monopoly.
Yeah, and then since they're rare, keeping them artificially rare, and then
limiting the supply is how they do it.
Limiting the supply, and then using propaganda to say you need this, and then it triggers something in it's molded women's minds to think that they have to have a $15,000 diamond, even though if you go over to Africa, they're just everywhere. Apparently, I mean, it's not a big deal. And either way, the materialism as well. On top of that, is that just the fact is
into
that
consumerism, materialism.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying diamonds are bad; they're pretty, great. But am I going to mortgage? I'm going to mortgage my home for it, or am I going to, take out a loan? No, I'm not, because that's just mindless. It's mindless.
So real quick about Edward Bernays, we wouldn't have bacon because you see bacon's really popular now, right?
In the morning,
and so the story behind bacon is the pork industry could not sell this bad cut of pork, and they went to it because it was bogus. Nobody wanted it. It's fatty, right? And so the pork industry went to Edward Bernays and they said, help us sell this pork. And he produced a whole propaganda campaign about why you need bacon and eggs in the morning for breakfast, and sold it to America. And we bought it like sucker chumps.
And don't get me wrong, I love bacon. Okay, but
it's the worst cut of pork.
Turkey bacon.
It's not good for you.
It's the worst cut of
turkey
pork.
bacon.
They couldn't even sell it before Edward Bernays sold it to America with his propaganda and lies.
And that means that's what we're trying to wake people up about, is that this is going on everywhere. The media, I mean, literally all the time. Someone could, use propaganda to just force you into thinking that you're buying a good product. I mean, it's just, we just want people to guard their minds a little bit more instead of just being told what to think. Because that is propaganda at its best.
There are bad people, evil scientists that know human psychology that are playing you like a sucker chump fool and know that. And they laugh. They get off on doing it, okay? Realize that these are evil, mad scientists.
Perfect example, abortion. They've changed abortion from, this bad situation, the guy leaves and, I can't take care of this baby, into, no, it is a woman's right to be able to kill their child. It's a woman's right. You need to be proud of having that right. You need to be against any person trying to be against that or to speak out against it. No, you need to be viciously against them. I have the right. I'm a woman. I have the right to kill my own child.
Well, we know that's
what
eugenics.
It is. Yeah, it's exactly. So it's propaganda that's been used to package abortion as a right. Okay, well, what about the right of the child? You've just ended its life. What about their rights? And we don't really want to get all into that because I know we'll probably maybe not upset people on this station, our audience on this station, but it's just...
Well, we did an hour interview with Mark Kocher.
About how they...
Maffa 21.
About the black genocide, basically, with putting abortion clinics in poor areas.
You think
targeted
cops
for blacks.
kill a lot of black people? Well, the abortion doctors kill a hell of a lot more than cops ever could think of killing.
Over 50 million have been aborted. And it was a recent article. I think it was more black babies were killed a couple of years ago than were actually born, which is disgusting. It is, and is that racist for us to talk about that? No, it's terrible.
It's the facts, man.
Yeah, and so all we're saying is that we need to understand that we are being attacked mentally. Yes, they're spraying us. They're giving us bad. They're growing GMOs and they're pushing pharmaceuticals on us.
Fluoride in the water.
Geez, anything out of the faucet. It just literally looks cloudy. It's terrible.
But the government cares about us. I thought they tell us all day that they care more about us than we care about ourselves.
Of course they're the government, right?
Yeah.
They invented us. We don't even have. They assigned us our parents at birth. It's ridiculous. We are being manipulated on many levels, but most of all mentally. And I even if
so, you want to get into this article? Propaganda and fear mongering works from Zero Hedge. Everybody needs to go to Zero Hedge. I mean, they're blasting away
statistics as well.
Awesome information. So it goes on to say that, and they're pushing the war on terror hard and heavy, but annually, on average, 402 people drowned in their bathtub. Okay, over the last 5 years. 36.8 died of lightning strikes over the last 5 years. 31.2 died of dog attacks. 12.8 died of football-related deaths over the last 5 years. And down to terrorism. 4.6 Americans died of terrorism over the last 5 years. And that's the Global Terrorist Database is where we're getting this information from. So, should we start a war against bathtubs? Because that's killed a lot more people over the last 5 years than terrorism has.
I wrote that down on my notes. Where is the war on bathtub drownings? I mean, we got to have a war on football, war on dog attacks, war on lightning. Maybe even throw thunder in there, even though it's just a
well, they are
just
engineering the weather, so maybe they are helping us out in that way. But
yeah, I mean, thunder is really loud and might scare you, so maybe we should wage war on thunder. And, I mean, yeah, they're already geoengineering.
If thunder goes off and you're in the bathtub and it scares you and you slip and fall, I guess they're okay for engineering the weather then. Maybe they do care about us.
Well, I guess there is already a war on all those things because they're surveilling everything we do. And remember, well, what do you got to hide? If you got nothing to hide, of course let the government spy on you if they're looking for terrorists. Listen, I mean, honestly, you have more of a shot of a homeless person, being crazy, cracked out on meth, and attacking you. I mean, really.
Trying to rob you,
Trying to rob you or something. I mean, you have, and let's not even get into cars. I mean, how many people are at risk of dying every single day and do die from car accidents?
Well, right here, Stuart, it's 1,904 times more likely to die in a car accident than a terrorist attack.
Yeah, let's go down the rest of that list.
You want to go over this list?
Let's go over this list. These are important, guys. We need to listen. Listen to what we're saying.
35,000 times more likely to die from heart disease. 33,000 times more likely to die from cancer. 23,000 times more likely to die from obesity. 5,000 times more likely to die from medical error. 4,700 more likely to die from drinking yourself to death. And then the car accident, again, 1,900 times more likely to die from a car accident than a terrorist attack. 2,000 times more likely to kill yourself, commit suicide than to die from a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
What
about cops? 9 more times likely to die by a death cop?
Police officers are, you're more likely, you're 9 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement than a terrorist attack in the United States of America. Go America, USA, USA, USA. And then, you're 110 times more likely to die from contaminated food than terrorism.
After hearing
why don't we have a war against all that stuff? Because that is more deadly than terrorism to us. But yet, it's never-ending propaganda. The war on terror is a perpetual war which will never end. Why can't we stop all this other bad stuff from happening? Heart disease, maybe.
The problem is, Sam, is that the United States can't make a political case trying to invade Iraq.
Should we invade a heart disease?
Yeah. Well, they can't make the political case. They can't make the political. Man, we're laughing on this show. Amazing.
No,
they can't. They can't make the political case to invade Iraq over the drowning of people in bathtubs or car accidents here in the States. They can't make a political case, so it has to be scary, dressed up guy that is actually ran by our CIA in a Mortal Kombat black ISIS uniform. That's more scary, I guess, than getting in your car and die. I mean, these literally, when was the last terrorist attack on American soil?
Oh, one's probably coming.
Yeah, we know one's coming because they've been prepping us with all these movies.
Borders wide open.
Yeah, the border's wide open. They're getting us in that amped up mode to be just pro-American with all these movies: American Sniper, Lone Survivor,
Wave your flag
Zero
and go
Dark
to
30.
war with the next country as they collapse our country here domestically.
They're getting us ready to accept it once again, even though it's absolutely absurd and we're going bankrupt. We can't pay for any of this. this. None of this. Okay? And so
That's why they're going to start this big war.
yes, and we don't want a war in bathtubs, folks. We're not advocating that. By the way, Osama bin Laden, did we ever see his body? No, we saw a picture. We saw a picture, and they dumped him overseas in the ocean. That's what the American people got. That's a slap in the face. Folks, we'll be back for the second hour. This is Weaponized News. Visit weaponizednews.com. Sam and Stuart will be back on the other side of the hour.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney reporting to you for weaponizednews.com. Today is January 20th, 2015. And I'm reporting to you on an article out of WorldNet Daily written by Jerome Corsi. The title reads, Generals Conclude Obama-Backed Al-Qaeda. Probe of military experts finds U.S. switch sides in war on terror. There's a picture of Obama and Hillary Clinton. It goes on to read, the Obama White House and the State Department, under the management of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, changed sides in the war on terror in 2011 by implementing a policy of facilitating the delivery of weapons to the Al-Qaeda-dominated rebel militants in Libya, attempting to oust Muammar Gaddafi from power. The Citizens Commission on Benghazi concluded in its interim report. It goes on to read that several members of the commission have disclosed their findings that the mission of Christopher Stevens prior to the fall of Gaddafi and during Stevens' time as U.S. ambassador was the management of a secret gun-running program operated out of the Benghazi compound. The Obama administration's gun-running project in Libya, much like the Fast and Furious program under Eric Holder's Justice Department, operated without seeking or obtaining authorization by Congress. It goes on here to explain further details about the gun running operation and the Benghazi operation in in Libya. And it's open treason by the White House, by the Justice Department against the United States. All these operations are supposed to get congressional approval. They're operating as a dictatorship. This is open treason. I suggest everyone go read all the details in this article. I'm not going to read you the whole article and bore you. You can go read it yourself. But it's very well vetted and documented by Jerome Corsi that this is what has happened. I'll scroll down to the bottom. It talks about the CIA. It says, the way the CIA works is through a cutout in that you get Qatar to transport the weapons and you facilitate the transport. So now the third party is to blame. And that's explained by Shipp, who is Kevin Shipp, a former CIA counterintelligence expert. And so this is this proxy war that we see our government using to cause chaos all throughout the Middle East, to put weapons in the hands of radical Al-Qaeda, Muslim extremist jihadists. And then we see all this terrorism around the world, and they want to blame us and take away our freedom and liberties here in the United States when they are funding and providing the weapons to these Al-Qaeda terrorists. This is open treason by the Obama White House, by Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State at the time of Benghazi, and by the Justice Department. Please read this article on WorldNet Daily. And I want to give WorldNet Daily and Jerome Corsi credit for having the courage to come forward with this information. Subscribe to this channel, speak out, and take action. Thank you.